Hello and welcome to Live Coding Happy Hour. It is great to see you because we have a special day here. Not only are we going to be covering UI Builder, but it happens to be my birthday and Andrew Barnes' birthday. Who knew we shared a birthday? Well, you would if you listened to Dhruv and Ashutash's podcast, but there's a shameless plug if there ever was one. Let's do the introductions, starting with Brad.
Thanks, Chuck. Hi, everybody. My name is Brad Tilton, and I am a developer advocate with the developer program here at ServiceNow. I have been developing on the platform since 2008 as a customer, partner, and now employee, and I'm excited about today's show.
And we'll go to David next.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me. My name is David Leonard. I am the Senior Engineering Manager for the Now Design System. We make a lot of the components that you see if you've been using UI Builder. I saw in some of the past episodes, you all were making some pages with them. So hopefully that went well. And I'm excited to talk to you today about theming.
Very good. Thank you, David, for joining us. And finally over to Chris.
Well, thank you. My name is Chris Johnson. Happy to be back. I am the design lead for UI Builder and excited to make some pretty things with theming today.
And my name is Chuck Tomasi, Senior Developer Advocate at ServiceNow. Been here since 2010, was a customer for a couple of years before that, and have a long, sordid history for almost 40 years in the IT industry, one way, shape, or another. So very happy to be here, always learning, always sharing with you, and glad you are here watching live or watching later. Okay, it's the time where we introduce our beverages. Same order. Brad, what have you got today?
All right. I have a variation of what I had last week, but it is a macadamia nut barrel-aged stout. So I will be drinking part of this.
Sounds good. David, what's your choice?
So I've got a local beer, The City from Calicraft, where I live here in the East Bay in California. It's a nice West Coast IPA. I wish I was at their beer garden, but soon. We all do.
We all do. Chris.
Well, I also went local today. I've got a Kinschlager, which is a Oak Park, Illinois local brewery, and it's the Neil's World Hefeweizen.
All right, and I'm closer to Chris's territory since everybody else is drinking local. I can't say this was kind of local when I used to live in Wisconsin about 6-7 years ago. I'm back to the Leinenkugel's Berry Weiss. So always a favorite whenever you can find Leinies out here. Okay, on to today's topic. Brad, what have we got for the topic of the day? We seem to have a random screen share going on.
It's wonderful.
And then I saw what the screen share was. Who did that? Come on. You got to have Andrew in there too.
Is there one where he's like the MGM
I think that was
lion?
Andrew. All right.
Funny man.
Today, so we are going to talk about theming in UI Builder today. So we've got a starter portal experience that we're going to get started with. We're going to kind of take a look at, how you might get started doing some theming, and then we will actually change some things like change the logo, change the colors, and then we'll probably get down into the weeds as well. I have, probably there probably are not more expert people out there than who we have on the show. So we've got some people to help us out while we're there and to answer questions. So, if you all have any questions in the chat about how, the theming works, or, why it is the way that it is in some place, feel free to ask us in the chat. And with that, I am going to go ahead and share my screen.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Which is this one, I think. All right. And we're shared. Okay. So let's start. So today, due to popular demand, we're going to be doing a plant management app. So I've got my plant app in AES here, where we've got a few different plant tables. We're not going to do a ton with the actual tables, but I did spin up a plant experience, a starter experience. So I'm going to open it directly in UI Builder here. So this is just our standard starter portal experience. You get a bunch of pages with it. Why did that? There it goes. We get a bunch of pages by default with it, and we also get a theme and header. So let's take a look at what that looks like. So we are going to come in and we're going to change some of these colors and change the logo, which is a pretty standard thing. If you are going to be implementing this, in your company, you've got an app that you've created through AES, and you spin up an experience, and then you're going to come in and change it to represent, what your corporate theme is, or for that specific app, do something with it. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new page. And so this was a little trick that Chris showed me earlier this week when we were talking about this. And then we're just going to call this theme test, I think is a decent name. So I created this page, and then we're going to go ahead and open the page in the platform UI. I can't remember whether there is a menu application, an application menu for this? We'll see. All right, so I'm opening up the macroponent table, which I believe all of our components live on this table, and then pages are also basically components. And also live on this table. Am I right there? Is that?
You are correct, yes.
All right. So we're going to open up the page that we just created, and then I've got a couple of JSON blobs that I'm going to paste in here.
Hey, Brad, just so you know, there's actually a faster way to get to this page right from UI Builder. Would you like me to show you?
Yeah, let's do that.
We're all about faster.
All right, so if you go to UI Builder, back to that tab, and you go up to the menu, aptly named, and you scroll down to Developer, there's the Open Page Definition link, and that should take you right to that spot in Platform. There's a bunch of other great links that'll link you off to Platform, but this is a massive time saver if you don't want to have to remember the name of the table.
That is a massive time saver, although I have gotten fairly good at typing macroponent. I don't think I typed it correctly for a while, but that's great. And then I've got just a couple of things that I'm going to paste in. So, the page itself, I guess, is just a collection of, you've got the layout defined here, and then the composition is telling the page, here's where all my components are, and here's their, how their properties and everything are. And then I guess we don't have any event mappings or anything like that for this page. So let's update it. And now if I come back, and I guess we'll do a refresh, I should get some components on the page.
Takes a second.
So where did you get that JSON
There
from?
we go.
The other page?
So
This was actually something that I sent him earlier this week, Chuck.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, my audio cut out for a second there. Was there a question?
I just said, where did you get the JSON from?
Yes. So Chris sent this to me. We'll go ahead and post this. I think that should be fine to post the JSON, because this was like, when I thought about having to do this, I was like, man, it's going to be a lot of things to add. And then I did it in 30 seconds. I was like, oh, that's really nice.
Yeah, so the origin of this page is I was doing a demo for some folks earlier this week, and part of the demo was to create a custom theme, and it's much easier to see how the theme works if you can see the components that use the theme. And so it's just a really easy page to use. You start making some changes to your theme, and then you can go to this page in the runtime and refresh it, and then you can see exactly what changes are being made. So it's a really big time saver.
Yeah, that's really great. I mean, I've back in the day when I was doing CMS portals or even service portals, you're clicking around in all sorts of pages. Like, did when I changed the padding on this, did it mess up my catalog page? And this is really nice. So one of the things that I wanted to call out before we actually get into this was that when we look at some of the things like the buttons and the input fields, they are like the inputs just have the line on the bottom. But then when you come over and look in UI Builder at the input fields, they are styled differently. And these are the same components, right? We're just applying different themes to them.
Yeah, 100%. During the development of UI Builder through Paris and Quebec, all of our input fields in the configuration panel looked exactly like what you see on the stage. And it was actually close to the end when we actually built the theme to make them look like what you're seeing here. One of the most kind of stark components for contrast besides the input is actually the toggle. And so you can see that the toggle in the config panel is this kind of very circular thing with the rounded corners. But if we add a toggle onto the stage, it's very square. And that's not an insult to the toggle. It's hip to be square, but it's just kind of the style of the toggle there. And it's the same component behind the scenes, just themed differently.
Yeah, I think it's a really good demonstration of our goals with theming too on the platform. Just like we need to make two different experiences that you see at the same time that look really different. We know you all need to make your experiences look however you need them to look, sometimes in dramatically different ways to match the way that your company website looks or your other internal tools look. And so I think this just kind of proves that, what we say is true. You can do that.
And both AES and UI Builder share a common theme as well. And so we kind of internally have nicknamed it the Builder theme, but it's sharing a common architecture and common code behind the scenes that is controlling it.
Yeah, that does look the same. So was AES created with UI Builder?
No, but we partnered together. I mean, it's using the same componentry, but they were in development at the same time. So it's kind of hard to assemble the plane or assemble the, whatever the right metaphor there is, while you're building the thing to construct it as well.
Yeah,
I think Fred Luddy calls that the self-eating watermelon.
Yeah. All right. So let's actually get into this and do some theming. So if we'll go ahead and open this theme, or did I already do that? Oh no, we'll go ahead and open the theme test up so we can see what it looks like. All right.
Great.
We've got all these things here. So let's go ahead and so I think the main things we want to do is we want to change the logo, and then we want to change the primary and secondary colors, because those are going to give us the biggest bang for our buck. So I guess first of all, I know where the theme record is on the back end. Can I get to it from UI Builder?
Yes. Yes. Actually, yes. So edit experience settings actually is where you go to change the theme, branding and theming tab there, and then the advanced settings or create a theme. One of those two will take you to the right spot. And then
Should we create a new theme? or just edit this one? So this light theme, this is the same theme that gets spun up for all of the starter experiences, right? So we probably would want to create a new one so that we don't.
You can also extend a theme as well.
Ooh.
So you can use the light theme and extend that. And actually, probably the light theme, I don't know this for a fact, but it may be extending a theme as well using that extends field.
I think it is extending like
cool.
a default theme, if I remember correctly.
The theme extensions help a lot with like staying upgrade safe, which we know is something people really care about. So, we want to bring like a lot of nice base themes for you and add more over time every release that you can try. But, if you go and make a change to one of ours and on upgraded, you don't get the new cool stuff in there. That wouldn't be cool. So extends gives you the option to extend one of our themes and you get all the values that it has. And then you can override any of them to be what you want them to be. You can add additional ones that we didn't put in our theme, which might be useful if you make custom components that you want to make themable in a different way. And another really cool thing is that you can also use extends on your own too. Like maybe you want to have a base company theme and have a different one that you extend for workspaces and a different one you extend for portals to make them look different. And you can even manage your own themes that way.
How does the override fit into that scheme?
Oh, yeah.
It's a good question. I don't remember off the top of my head, except to encourage people to use extends.
Got it. So use extend. So I did notice there's 2 light themes and I have created 2 portal experiences. So I wonder if it creates me a new theme for each experience.
I think that's the case.
All right. So we have our theme here. I think we need to save it. And then we probably need to go ahead and select it. But I bet I need to refresh this. Oh, it was that opened in UI Builder. All right. That was experience settings. And we called that plants.
All caps, very important.
All caps. So we now have the plants theme. Since we extended, this should be the same, right? Because we're still applying all the same styling.
Yep.
All right. And so now we can actually mess with this theme. So I think the first thing we want to do is the logo. And I'm guessing that's theme assets. Let's try it. Nobody told me no yet. The asset. So I think I probably do have to put this in this is probably the image table, right? Oh no, theme asset. Okay. Let's create a new asset. Image. This is where I can add a font. Okay, maybe we'll do that. So let's call this about plant logo. Do I need to give it an extension? I didn't see what else is in this table.
I didn't see one on the other ones.
All right, let's not give it an extension. All right, and then let's attach something. I don't think I have anything. All right. I guess I should just submit that. And then what do we call that? Plant something. And then what are these asset properties do here?
So asset properties control where your theme assets get used when the page is rendered. So for example, to control the fact that you want this image to go into the header for the logo, it's JSON and the key is position and the value is header. And like you were mentioning about themes or typography, you can also upload fonts this way and you just give them different properties.
Did I do that right? Or does position need to be in?
I think position needs to be in quotes.
Double quotes too, because JSON's fun. Double quotes everywhere.
I love JSON. It's my favorite.
All right. So looks like you guys can't hear me very well in the chat. I'm going to bring my mic a little closer. Hopefully that helps out. I do have a mumble problem, but hopefully this works a little better. Okay, so we've got our asset with our asset properties here. And then I'm guessing I need to do something in the theme as well. Or do I?
That's it. I think if you just go with this, you're going to be fine to see the logo.
All right.
We'll see.
So I encountered this earlier this week where there is a bit of a caching delay. And so if that wasn't a hard refresh, you might want to try a hard refresh.
I can clear the cache through the developer tools, right?
Yeah, I normally just do Command Shift R, whatever that is.
Let's see.
Nothing.
You could also try hitting cache.do on the instance and might be in the server cache.
If you try turning it off and on again.
I guess let's run a cache.do. All right, let's see how that goes.
Drum roll, please.
And
no logo.
Let's change the well, I guess the logo wouldn't matter. See if we can oh. Even in my incognito, it is. What do we think? Let's move on to primary and secondary, and then maybe somebody can.
Yeah, I think changing the primary and secondary color should be instantaneous, and we should that's a good way to verify that the theme is actually set up correctly.
Yeah. So we want to go back to the theme, which I closed out of for some reason. Let's see how we did that. Experience settings, branding and theming. How about advanced settings? Yeah, Sarah says has seen this happen a lot with images, and yeah, me too. It's kind of it can be annoying. All right, so that is my config, and here is my theme record. So the way I think I would generally do this, that's where I want to go. Oh, I'm on the many-to-many record. Let's get into that record. So I think I would generally look at the existing, and it looks like this is where I am defining the primary. Oh no, there's a bunch of primaries.
Yeah, so kind of the way to think about the different levels of primary is generally primary 0 is the lightest color. And primary 1 is actually the one that gets used by a lot of the buttons and other things. So that's kind of the big color that you want to make sure that you probably set first is primary 1. And then usually there'll be like a sort of a gradation. You know, primary 0 is the lightest gradation, and then primary 3 is going to be the darkest form of that gradation. That's not always going to be the case depending on your branding and other considerations, but In this particular case, for this particular site, I believe that's what's going on.
So we probably want to set primary 1 and primary 2 for our green and blue colors.
Well, so primary 1's probably going to be the green or the blue. I forget which one is the one that's the main one of the color. And then we also have secondary colors. So that generally, if you've got 2 different colors, the ones that are in the same family, so your greens are going to be in the primaries, and then even maybe you've got a secondary color palette, and that will be maybe your blues for this example, and that would be secondary 0 through 3.
All right. Well, let's we'll do, I guess, primary 1 and secondary 1 for the purposes of this one.
Yeah.
Why did I get?
I feel like we just asked him which is his favorite child.
Well, that was interesting. All right. We do have some questions in the chat that I saw looked interesting from Phil and Sarah.
And so one of them is, can we serve up different themes depending on parameters / audiences? Like, can they be different themes associated with different page variants or that sort of thing?
Yes. The page variants, I'm not 100% sure about, but you can definitely serve up different themes based on different parameters, and the audiences is one of the ways that you do that. Yeah.
When Brad was on the experience record a little bit ago, before I got to that M2M record, there was a related list for all the themes that are attached to my experience. And one of the columns there in that related list is called applicability. And that's where you can change which theme is served depending on like certain characteristics of the person who's accessing the page. Right now, you can't change it based on page variant. Like you've got a theme for your experience, and Andrew can have a different theme and Chuck can have a different theme, but you can't have it change when the URL changes right now, essentially.
That makes sense.
If you're on a domained instance, it's also domain separated. So all the benefits of domain separation are there for themes as well.
Nice. I like the domain stuff because it only applies to like 10% of the people, but it makes those 10% really happy when stuff is domain friendly.
We spent an awful lot of time thinking about domain separation in UI Builder. So
awesome.
I think it works pretty well, but I'm also quite biased.
All right. Well, let's see. So does this look right? For secondary, I just replaced the word primary with secondary.
Yeah, that looks right to me.
All right. Well, well, we did get a green here.
It's greener than the old green.
And then we got some secondary. Yeah. So that worked.
Someone asked in the chat, does it have to be RGB? The answer for colors is yes right now. And one quick tip to think about when you're doing this, I have to do it a lot and just, be like, did I change that? Did that value change? Is that green just really similar to the green before? RGB, it's 3 numbers separated by commas. And the higher the number, the more that color is in there. So if you want to see like a really obvious change, do 255, 0, 0. You got bright red, right? Or 02550, you got bright green.
So I have a trick for that when we get to the font as well, where sometimes sans serif fonts, they're hard to tell even for a designer, the difference between them. Yeah, there you go. So What you can also do is you can just in your font list that you're defining, it's just a CSS list of fonts. You can have the end of it be cursive, comma cursive. And if you see cursive, things are, whatever font you picked, it ain't working. And maybe it's not installed on your machine, or maybe the link isn't bad, or whatever it is, but that's a way to test it. Now you just got to make sure that you remove the cursive when you push to production. But that's also a good little trick.
Nobody watching the show would ever push something to production and forget to take something out.
Never happens.
All right. Well, I think that, we got our secondary blue and primary green. Our image is still not showing up. I thought you had to replace that somewhere else, the logo, but I could be wrong. thought there was like a property somewhere.
If it is a property, it's in the app shell configuration.
Oh yeah.
That's where you configure like what goes in the header and the footer and that kind of stuff.
That would be for the whole, I mean, that would be that all of the app shell.
It's the app shell version for the actual experience that you've set up. So this is the app shell for the whole instance that gets copied in, but you're wanting to edit the one for the particular experience. I think it's in the experience record.
Oh, it's in the experience.
It's tied to the experience, yeah. So it would be.
Let's go. I think I closed the experience record. Let's open it back up. It was no. How did I get to that? Oh, it was just advanced settings. That's right. So this is where we were talking about earlier. There is the themes. So this is where you could do the different themes for the different audiences.
Yeah, correct.
All right. So, all right, if we're looking for the logo, let's look one more place for this, and then we can move on to doing other things. Where do I find? Is this the experience record? I'm all turned around now.
Yeah, I'm frantically trying to find the right spot in another browser.
All right. All right, let's see. Do we have any questions come in?
Okay, so Brad, what I normally do is I just type experiences into the navigator, and then I find the experience that I'm currently working on. Yeah, now experience framing.
Let's do that.
That one, and then it's plants, and then what you'll see is Chrome footer, Chrome header, Chrome menu, and these are the configurations for the different parts of the app shell. And one thing to understand about this is that route column. So what you can do here is you can actually define different configurations for a different page. And so in this case, that second Chrome header there is actually defining a specific Chrome header for the landing page. And probably, I haven't looked at this, but what's going on is normally the header has the search box in it. And on the landing page for a portal, normally you have a big, huge hero region with a search box. And so they've configured the header for that one page to remove the search box in the header so that you're searching from the main big hero region of the screen. And there's a few other cases like logged in and logged out users and different other things that you might want to configure what goes in the header and footer.
So this is the default one, it looks like.
Yeah.
And what a great field to search. Would I see something with the logo here?
There's something in here about logo.
Logo route. Guess I could. Yeah, it was just the one on the bottom. I don't know. Any ideas before we punt this and move on to something else? All right.
Oh, look at me.
Chuck, how do we replace the logo? All right. So we sort of did the logo, we did primary and secondary colors. I think font is another good one that we can do here.
Yeah, I think Sarah was asking for that earlier.
Yeah, because I believe it's pretty straightforward compared to how we used to do fonts and other things. Do I still have the no? I'm just gonna. Plants. There we go. And then I'm guessing I just add a UX theme asset for a font because I noticed when I created the other one that we had font as an option here. And then I think, what was the name of the font we used?
Cursive.
Cursive.
I think the logo font was Cabin, which is a Google font.
Comic Sans.
Always Comic Sans.
Hot pink Comic Sans.
All right. I think I have. Which is the right one to use?
So probably the second one.
All right.
Yeah, first one's italics.
Okay.
When you get a font, there's often the other variants like bold and italics.
There's some strong Comic Sans opinions in the chat. Do I have to do anything with the asset properties in the font?
Yes. It is more JSON. So it's an object. I know we all love JSON. And you need the key font dash style. And you want the value for that to be, it's dependent on what font you uploaded. I think I saw from your image that you uploaded a variable font. So let's just call it normal. Variable fonts are cool because they encode like normal and italic in the same file. So it's lighter.
Oh, nice. All right.
And then you want font weight on that object too. Just another key. And we'll make that normal too, since this looks like a variable font.
You're missing a double quote.
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah, so if you're uploading your own fonts to the instance, one thing I strongly recommend everybody does is just make sure you pick like an optimized one that has only the stuff you want in it, because fonts have to be parsed before any part of your page is rendered. And if you load like a really big font with a bunch of language, character sets you don't need, then you can see performance going way down, and that's not great.
That's a great point.
Travis had one last idea on that logo.
Oh, did he?
If we have a moment, we'll come back to it. I'll copy and paste it into the chat.
Let's see if our font worked.
We got to do one more thing. We just have to set the property here to use that font. So the last thing we did was we were uploading the font, so it's like served as a file. And now if you do the now font family property, we can configure it to use that font.
And then do we use the asset name here, or
this is like a CSS type thing. You use cabin with a capital C for this case. If you want to figure out what you should use there, you can always install that font in your computer and go look in your font settings, and it'll give you the right name for it.
Got it. All right.
Yeah, and one thing to note here too is that sometimes, especially for fonts in CSS that are multiple words, the double quotes here are actually the double quotes required by JSON, but you may need to also include single quotes inside of that, because what you're doing is you are spitting out the string in CSS. And so in a lot of cases, what you'll do is you'll actually define a few, like a comma separated list of fonts. And so like typically on the Mac, they'll do like San Francisco and then Helvetica Neue and Arial and, sans serif, right? So it's like fall back to this, to this, to this, all the way down. And so you can put that here in one long string, but if you need the double quotes for the font in order for CSS to work, you use the single quotes here in order to make that work in JSON. And so in my previous like test case, it'd be cabin, comma, cursive here. And if we'll know whether it worked if we see cursive.
All right. Here we go.
Drum roll.
You can already see it's working. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, it definitely looks different.
Someone's hacked your system.
Who hopped into my PDI?
The grinning guy on the bottom of the stack.
All right. Happy birthday, Chuck and Andrew.
And Andrew.
All right. So the font worked. So I'm taking a drink off camera. You guys couldn't see that. So as someone who has done some custom fonts many years ago at this point, it was much more painful in the past than just uploading the font file and doing some CSS there. So that was really nice. One of the other things that I want to make sure we get to is just, if you guys could talk about some of the theming hooks in the components, and then I want to look at the component playground, and maybe we can do some theming to one of the components that we have on the page here.
Yeah, I can talk a little bit to that. So we've got 3 levels of theme hooks. Those are those properties that begin with 2 dashes that you saw Brad writing in the JSON blob right there. And so if you're familiar with like CSS or with any other type of like object-oriented hierarchy, there's like just a few things up here at the very top that control a lot of stuff. Like that color primary 1 controls a lot of parts of the UI, but you can keep going down more levels and controlling more and more specific things. So maybe you want to only set the primary color for your buttons, but you want to leave the primary color a different color for, all your other stuff on your page. You could even go down another layer from that, and you could say only for iconic buttons that have only an icon in them. So those are the different kinds of theme hooks. I think I'm not sure if we have them all documented on the components pages right now. We're always improving the documentation. So I'll keep looking for that if you don't see it there. But it does give you the opportunity to make some pretty deep customizations if you need to.
I think the documentation is updated if you're logged in. And so if you log into the developer site, there's a few things that show up, and the theme hooks for Quebec are one of them.
It may be, so for employees, you see different things than when our customers and partners are logged in. So we probably see some things logged in, but I think the unauthenticated and customer experience are the same, I believe. Andrew, that's right. Am I right? Yeah. So what's a good component that we know has some theming hooks documented, or is there? How about input? I thought I saw one somewhere. Is it not input?
One place to go to if you're looking for theming hooks and also how they're being used is if you go to the theme table on the instance and you look at the existing themes that ServiceNow ships, they will also have listed theme configurations. So for example, the default theme, or it also depends on what apps and plugins you have installed as well, because sometimes those will also bring in themes. But you can see here, like for example, the base agent workspace theme or the builder theme, they will have all these different theme hooks here. So like now button primary color, or now button border width. And these are the things that we use to theme the builder, which is UI Builder and AES. But this is kind of an interesting starting point for you if you want to start looking at what is available and what we're using. So when we talk about the toggle, for example, like this is the stuff that we changed to change that toggle.
So let's grab the toggle and see if we can make our toggle look like the UIB toggle.
So, even though we don't have like the perfect docs on it yet, you can kind of parse a little bit the meanings of these things by looking at their syntax already right now. So as you might be able to tell things that are specific to a component, the first thing after the dash dash is usually their tag name, like now toggle. And then an underscore here indicates an area inside the toggle. So the track is like the background area of the toggle. Then there's another area that's like the little handle you can press on. And then after that, the next dash dash border color, those are the different kinds of visual styles you can set for the track area of the toggle, the border color, the background color.
Okay.
And then that dash dash the handle radius change to make it round.
Yeah.
Yeah, and 100 pixels is a lot, but we just wanted to make sure that it was definitely going to be round, so that's why we picked a big number. But if, for example, you were to take the color primary that you've got there, that 011973, and then copy it, in the track border color or the background color and put it there, you would then hopefully see, if everything's working correctly, the track color change.
All right, well, let's see. Let's see what happens. So that should be, oh, did I not save?
I don't think you saved.
I think I added that and didn't save it. So let's go ahead and, it was a toggle. That's weird because I save a lot generally. And
oh, the suspense is killing me.
Come on. There we go. It's round now. And it may be hard to see on the stream, but you can definitely tell that there's this green border around it.
Try turning it off. If you change both places, then maybe it'll. Okay, that didn't change. So that's using the ServiceNow UI Builder teal, but you could then replace that color as well in the theme file and change that too.
Another tip on looking at those theme hooks and trying to figure out what can I write there is the part that you see that looks like CSS, like the border color or the border radius, those take the same values that those CSS rules take. So, you can look up docs on the internet and be like, what can I type for border radius? Any value that you can type for border radius in CSS, you can set for one of our border radius focused properties.
So it could be a PX, could be a percent, could be nice.
Pica, inch, whatever you like.
Except for color, right?
Yeah, don't put color where size.
Colors are all RGB today.
All right. Okay. Well, I think we've got we've got about 10 minutes left. We've shown a lot of things. Is there anything else you guys want to show? I think we'll open it up for some questions. Yeah, anything else you guys want to highlight or show in the last 10 minutes?
One thing that is really visible when you're using a page like this is, if you could scroll down, Brad, and I didn't realize this until I started playing around with it. I was changing some colors, and I discovered that because components are nested within components, sometimes the theming has larger impacts. So if we look at those alerts, for example, there's a now icon component to the left, and then some text, and then that link label is actually I believe it's a secondary button or a bare button, but it's using the secondary color property. And so when you're making changes to your theme, what I ended up discovering when I was creating this custom theme is, I have to think about how that color will impact, not just in the use case for the button by itself, but also that when that button or component is used in other locations. And so seeing a page like this where you've got kind of a clear view on the cascading changes and effects makes troubleshooting some of those issues really clear and understandable.
Nice.
One more interesting thing I point out is like thinking about what kind of change you're making and where you're going to make it can be important. So like if you're in UI Builder for this page, for example, you can click on one of those buttons in UI Builder, and in its configurations, it has a configuration called variant that controls its style. But variant is letting you sort of pick from which theme values it uses. You're not like going and writing, use the background color red in UI Builder. You're saying use the primary button. And then in the theme, you get to go say what primary means, or the secondary button. In the theme, you get to go say what secondary means. And we see that as a good thing too, but just knowing that there's kind of two places that you might need to be going to change something depending on what you're trying to accomplish is something to keep in mind.
And the power of the way that the theme hooks are set up is that, by default, we have it set so that the primary button inherits primary one. But we also have it set up so that you can go in and say, hey, I would like primary button to have a different color. Or you can reference another variable and say, hey, I'd like the primary button to actually reference secondary 1 or secondary 2 or secondary 3, or even a custom variable that you specify. And so you have multiple levels of specificity that you can sort of say, hey, by default, you're changing a couple of values and getting a lot of bang for your buck, but you also have the ability to go in and customize and be very granular on kind of a per component basis if you need that level of customization.
Nice. So I just saw a question come in asking if we can integrate a full CSS library like Bootstrap.
Not really. It's a little bit different, and it's different, I think, than what some people might have experience with from how you might be controlling like the CSS of your service portals. You're not writing CSS here. You're setting the values of some things that somewhere down the line are consumed by the components in their CSS that's already been written. So you can't just kind of like bring Bootstrap with you. Now, Bootstrap's got a set of colors, and it's got, I think it uses like Helvetica. It's got a set of typography. It's got some rules for how things are rounded. You can bring all of those if you want by setting the theme properties to look like Bootstrap. But the benefit, the reason why we didn't want to have it just be CSS is it's really upgrade safe. Like it's really unlikely that anything that you change here is ever going to have a problem for you as you move forward. Where when we expose CSS, as you all might be familiar with, it can be tricky because as we fix, problems or things change, your rules might no longer apply because the DOM structure changed. And then you might not know that until you upgrade, and we can't protect you from that. We built this system to be able to protect you from that.
Nice. And then another question was around setting these variables and setting them on the theme level. Oh, sorry, my headphones just had something crazy happen. Where was I? Oh, setting variables on the theme level versus the container itself. So I think if you set the CSS on a component, whether it's a container or an actual component, that's only affecting
question. You were down there giving the timeout signal, Andrew.
All right, I think we're back.
Yeah.
All right, so I don't know where we ended up. I had a headphone issue and then we cut out. But I think the question is, if I am doing styling from here, can I also do what the theme hooks are doing? And I believe the answer is no. This styling is only really affecting like the container of the component itself.
That's correct. Yes.
All right. So generally when I've used this, I'm like setting padding or margins, or maybe changing the background color of a container. It's not going to be able to, we're not going to be able to change the border radius on the toggle through this style panel. That has to be done with the theming hooks.
Yeah, that's correct.
All right. All right. Well, I think I will go ahead and stop the share here. We're ready for that.
Good stuff, gentlemen. Thank you for supporting us on that. That answered a lot of questions, and I know the chat was happy about that too.
And I think that there is a question here that I'm seeing about referencing other variables from within variables. And yes, that's 100% possible. So once you've defined a variable in one place, like now color primary or now color whatever, you can then reference that variable in any of the other properties. And so it's really quite useful for doing those sorts of things.
Very good.
Nice.
All right.
And then
thanks, Brad.
Well, one other thing, I don't think we actually mentioned it, but we are, like our documentation for this stuff is a work in progress, and it is, we're adding to it. And, David, I think you were mentioning that, in the near future, we're going to be seeing some more documentation come out around the design system on the developer site.
Yeah, we know you need it. We're working on it. We need it too. So we make it for us and for you, and we feel the pain. So look out for it coming on some of those component pages, and then more content on the developer site as well. There's some good theming content on the doc site, around like setting up themes, but we're going to continue to look to add more content for you building pages and building components and how that interacts with theming.
And as a reminder, I think I've mentioned this before, but you have the ability to get directly to the component documentation from within UI Builder. So you select a component on the stage, and there will be all the config properties in the config panel, and there's a little eye icon, an information icon. You can click on that or mouse over it, and it'll show you more details about that config property. But it's also got a Learn More link that takes you right to the developer.servicenow documentation for that component. And so it's a real easy shortcut to get from UI Builder to the developer site. So there you go.
I'm saved.
I built that feature for me.
Nice. Those are the best.
Those are the most important ones. If you need it, chances are other people need it too.
Right.
That's right. That's right.
That and how debug messages turn into status messages real easy. All right, gentlemen, let's rate our beers. Brad, you're up.
I think I'm first. I had the macadamia barrel-aged stout. I'm going to give it a 4. It was pretty good, but this is a series. I got 4 of them, and this is probably the worst of the series, but it's a barrel-aged stout. So
if the worst is a 4, I'm there. All right. From a scale of 0 is skunky to 5 is I could drink this every day and never get tired of it. David, what do you got? It's on a quarter-point scale too.
Yeah.
I've got, again, the City here from Calicraft, a fantastic local brewery down the road from me. I think that I give it a 4. I think it's a good beer.
Very nice. And Christopher.
So I had the Kinslager Niels World Hefeweizen. So because I generally drink Hefeweizen when the weather warms up, it's a 5 because the weather's starting to warm up. But I think in general, it's probably more like a 4.25 or so. It's a good beer, but it reminds me of summer, and so that's why I'm giving it a little bit more today.
He's pining for the weather.
Right.
And like last time, my Leinenkugels went down like Kool-Aid. That Berry Weiss is just too easy to drink. I give it a 4.5. It's got a nice, easy. It is like drinking Kool-Aid with alcohol. It's almost like I'm drinking a daiquiri over here, but it's technically beer, really, Mom. So with that, I think we've rated our beers. We've learned a lot about UI Builder and theming. Once again, thank you very much, gentlemen, and thank you, viewer, for hanging out with us. Even though we had a little bit of a glitch at the end, Andrew pulled us through in record time. So we will see you again next week. Topic, I think, is to be determined, but we've got a really good idea what it could be. But I'm not going to spoil that yet. So watch for the social media alerts. We'll be back soon. Thanks, everybody.